Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming on so early. We will be getting started at 9 o'clock. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm going to pause the recording. Well, good morning, everyone. So glad to see all your smiling faces, even though I can't really see them. I'm happy that you're here. We are really excited about this one because there's so many things going on in the industry right now. We're going to talk a lot about what's going on. Business planning, of course, is key. We have is your business ready for 2024 is the main topic. But before we get to that, we're going to cover a lot of facts and statistics about the market. We have co-hosts here, Kimberly Ivory and Gus Phillips is lurking in the background. Kimberly's
Good morning.
There you are. Hello. Always glad to see your smiling face on here.
I'm going to hide my face from you today, though, unless I talk to you.
There you go. That's fine. But she will be answering questions. So if we have the chat feature active, we have the Q&A active, but it's probably just as easy to put it all in chat. We are going to publish some documents out here today that we will later on publish a PDF of on the dash when we post the recording. So don't fear if you don't grab them during the presentation, you will have an opportunity to get them as part of the documents that go with the presentation off the Benchmark Dash. So with that said, let's get started. All right. I want to give a shout out to Momentum Title once again for all of the work that they do in and around Benchmark. They do an outstanding job for our closings. Just keep in mind that your first closing is free. Your personal home is free. Your investment properties are 50% off. And if they get both sides, there is only one closing fee, and they'll share that between the two sides. And then always there is a $500 credit for veterans and first responders. So yours truly, when I have a closing, I take that $500 credit. So if you have a file, processing at momentumtitletn.com. There's also a processor in almost all of our offices. So generally you can just walk down the hall and hand it to them. The tools that we have are paid for by our revenue from Momentum Title. So everything that you contribute to them contributes to you. And that's a good thing. Real Scout, Lion Desk Pro, Dot Loop, all those things cost money, cost big money actually. And the revenue from Momentum Title helps pay for that. Benchmark Dash, as you know, is the center point of everything we do. You want to be sure and keep up with the calendar, the training and events calendar over on the right that I've just highlighted there. You can click on the date, and when you click on the date, it will bring up all the events that day, and then you will register right there. There will be a link right there to register for the events. Should you run into a hiccup while you're processing there, there's a help button down here that will bring up an Autobot that will answer many of your questions, and you can also submit a question for somebody to call you back if you do run into a roadblock that you can't get past. That's fine too. The main tiles here in the middle, the one I want to point out is the one with the big red B, which obviously is part of our logo. That's how you access agent services. And agent services, agent resources has all the cool stuff that we do. Our manuals, our guides, the recordings of Friday with Philip, the slide deck that you're going to see here in a minute, all of that will be posted on agent resources. So that is there available to you 24/7, 365. All of the office information, all of our licensing information, how to access benchmark exclusives is all on there. So please take advantage of that. And of course, this is just a screenshot, but you would scroll down and see a whole list of other items that tools you have access to. You received last night a text message from this number that you see up here on your screen, 1-833-994-3157. It is the same number that you receive our Monday morning texts from. And this one included a link to a survey. We've adopted a philosophy change here, and instead of us sitting back and trying to figure out what you want, we're going to let you tell us what you want. So this survey went out last night. It's in your text message, unless you have disqualified yourself from having text messages. You want to click that survey and you want to tell us what your needs are. So please help us help you by responding to this survey. And the quicker, the better. We're only going to leave it open for about a week, week and a half. Then we're going to close it, and then we're going to make some decisions. Benchmark Expo was a huge success. Thank you to everyone who attended. A big shout out to Katie and Kimberly for the work that they did to put this thing together, and especially the Linda Seaton for the logistical work that she did behind the scenes. We could not do it without those people. And I want to give another shout out to the four panelists in the top producer panel discussion we had. If you missed it, son, you missed it, because these folks really laid some truth out there. And then of course you also missed 1 hour free CE credit provided by Kimberly in her new CE class. So thank you for attending. If you didn't attend, too bad, so sad. Maybe next year. I want to remind you about the TAP program, the Talent and Attraction program that we have going on right now. We will pay you $1,000 for every recruit that you bring in. And this is not like you've got to become a recruiting specialist. This is have a conversation with somebody that you think would fit our criteria, introduce them to either Bo Zvac or your principal broker. As long as they have a certain number of transactions that are qualifying, then we will bring them in and we will pay you $500 when they join. We'll pay you $500 again after they've been here for 90 days. And the new recruit will get a $500 marketing credit on the Bullseye Marketing Hub for signs, business cards, and that sort of thing. So essentially it's painless. It's been extended through January 31. This is the time of year to talk to people about moving because they are looking around, trying to figure out what's going on. We'll talk more about that in just a second, but it is really important that you at least, hey, have you thought about this? Say, hey, have you thought about Benchmark? And then share some information with them about Benchmark, and then make the introduction, and you'll get paid. We are running a pretty heavy recruiting email campaign over the next 9 weeks, and then the next day or 2 days after the emails go out from the principal brokers, then we are actually going to be posting on social media. You saw the first one the other day because a lot of you made comments and likes on it. It's a very well designed, very well laid out, hard punch recruiting campaign. We went back and looked at all the candidates, the prospects that are in our MLS, and there are 17,000 people in our MLS. We boiled that down to those that we think would really qualify for folks that would work here, and we came up with 10,000. And so the immediate question pops in Philip's head, why do we only have 1540 when we have 10,000 prospects? So we need your help with this. Nobody will believe us as well as they would believe you talking about us. So if you have kind words to say and want to do a 30-second video or a 60-second video, Katie Wiley is the person to reach out to, and you see her email there on the screen. She'll hook you up. We're going to set up a couple of dates where we just go through them, bam, 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 bam. It's just talking from the heart about what our programs here at Benchmark have meant to your business. And that's all we need. We don't need you to dress up and all the frou-ha and all that stuff. Just a plain, straight-spoken testimonial, and we can include it in our program. And you'll be seeing this pretty heavily over the next 9 weeks. Then if you have someone that you've already been talking to, again, send them to discoverbenchmark.com so they know a little bit more about us. And then, of course, notify your principal broker and or Bo Zvac. They can follow up with him, put them in our database, and work on them, and we'll get them in here. Appreciate your help with that very much. Really do. Just a reminder, November 1, Bowling Green is going to be open. We have a truck leaving here on the 30th that's going to go up there with the remainder of the furniture that's missing so far, and they will officially be in business. Cole Melcher is the principal broker up there, and I just realized I've got his email wrong. We have registered another URL, Benchmark Realty, instead of TN, benchmarkrealtyky.com, so for Kentucky. So that kind of gives a little personalization there. But anyway, feel free to stop by. We will eventually have key card access there. Right now we don't, because we don't have but like 5 agents. So we need more affiliates, but we do have a lockbox on the door, and you can contact Cole. You can contact Cole if you need that lockbox code to get in that office. He's always available to help you with that. Vendor page, don't forget about that. We have this on our consumer-facing side of Benchmark Realty TN. This is people who we have known for a while and who we trust, and we have said, okay, you are credible. We're going to put your face out on our webpage. There is a fee for it. If you have a vendor that wants to participate in this, it is good exposure. We are literally getting 150,000 views a month on our website. So there's lots of exposure. We have that data we can furnish to them, but if they will if they'll click the button on the page that says apply here and fill out the form, then they can, we'll reach out to them with the details on that information. They can make a decision on whether or not they want to participate. Excuse me. United Real Estate Group Financial Wellness Program. We've been talking about this for a while. If you're new to Benchmark, Benchmark is part of United Real Estate Group. And we have put together an entire program to help you with your financial wellness. With inflation doing what it's doing and recession on the horizon and business in the downturn, it is more important now than ever to understand your financial wellness and to get your arms around that, so you have not only survivability, but can excel through this. Many of you are participating in parts of it already, which I'm very appreciative of. But the main question you're probably asking is, why do we care about your financial wellness? Because it's very unusual for a broker to really care about their agent's financial wellness. As I said in a post the other day, most brokers only worry about how much they can extract from your pocket. Our concern is the whole agent. How can we help them be a successful person, a successful whole person? Because that impacts not only them, it impacts their family, impacts everybody around them, and it impacts society in general. And that's why we're doing this. The bottom line is that, real estate agents are relatively high income earners, and they also have high spending habits. And I know you're all looking around saying, well, that must be somebody else, because I've seen the numbers. I know how much you spend according to what you make. But 61% of Americans now are living paycheck to paycheck, and I would dare say that our affiliates are just a microcosm of the general population. So that gives us pause and concern. Unlike W-2 employees, real estate agents have irregular income flow, causing many to rely on credit card debt and on commission advances to finance the debt, finance that gap. Now, if you watched my video when we kicked off the program initially, you know how I feel about the commission advances, and we still sign them every week because people cannot manage their money. They don't understand money. They don't know how to manage it, and it's becoming more and more problematic across our society. Total consumer debt is now approaching $18 trillion and increasing at a rate of nearly $1 trillion per year. This is all consumer debt, including mortgages, HELOCs, student loan debt, credit card debt, personal loans, all of that combined is now at $18 trillion. And literally it is sucking the lifeblood out of our economy, especially when you consider that credit card debt alone now exceeds $1 trillion. Oh, and by the way, credit card interest rates are now the highest they have ever been in history. They're now averaging 28%. It's usury, but it's legal. And if you're using credit cards and you're not paying them off every month, that's going to be a problem for you. So according to the American Bankruptcy Institute, the #1 cause of bankruptcy in America today is the medical emergency costs. That's why we included healthcare programs in our wellness program. And then over 33% of all real estates do not have any healthcare insurance. We'll talk more about that in just a second, but I want to expose you to what we're calling the 4 pillars of financial wellness. The first pillar is maximizing earnings. That is our 100% commission model that we have here at Benchmark that you're participating in. And I put United's logo on there because, as I said earlier, we are part of United. And by the way, United is paying for all this stuff, okay, for you. So that is one major benefit of belonging to the organization. This video may also be watched by other United firms and other United affiliates. So we wanted to make sure they had that brand identification, but that 100% commission model is key. Debt elimination, budgeting, and saving is provided for you by the Smart Dollar program, which we've introduced to you, the Dave Ramsey program. We now have connectivity to total wealth planning through creative planning in Overland Park, Kansas, and other areas around the country. And many of you have already leaned in and connected with them and are experiencing some great results with their help in their wealth planning and trusts and wills and estates and that sort of thing. And then finally, we recently introduced the genuine, the real deal healthcare insurance benefit packages through Clearwater. You've heard a lot about that directly from Clearwater, and you'll continue to hear a lot about that directly from Clearwater. And then we move over to Smart Dollar. What it is, it's the app that helps you reduce your debt, get out of debt, manage your money, understand how money works. It's key. It's important. It's jugular in today's society, and it gives you a tracking mechanism. It's available on your laptop, on your iPad, on your phone, whatever you want. Sign up. This costs you nothing, y'all. And we've already had 416 people sign up for it. This is just within the test kitchen because we have not released it to the entire United organization yet. We will do that on mid-January sometime. But so far, 416 individuals that have participated have experienced a $269,166 financial turnaround. That's in debt paid off, $102,000, and in total savings, $166,000. So they are learning how to manage money. If you annualize that, that's $1 million turnaround, financial turnaround for these participants. So even if you think you've got it dialed in, participate in the program, because this program will help you budget. It will help you understand where your money goes, because I can guarantee you, if I sat down with 10 of you, 3 of you wouldn't know where it was, how much you had coming in, how much you had going out. You would have no idea. And then 7 of you would say you do, but you don't. So participate in the program. We also measure our success here with surveys along the way. How do you feel about this? How do you feel about that? 2 that I want to key in on is how stressed do you feel about your personal finances? You can see the gray line there was at the beginning, 28% were feeling stressed, and now only 11% feel stressed. Why? Because they're understanding how money works, and that's key. It's jugular. No stress at all went from 22% to 28%. They have feeling better because they're managing their money. They understand where it flows from. They understand what they do in the middle, and they understand where it goes to. And this one over here is particularly interesting. How confident are you that you'll be able to retire comfortably when you want to? In the beginning, initial survey, I'm very confident, 0, a big fat goose egg, right? And now 11% of the participants say, I feel confident I can retire when I want to. Now, what a measure of freedom that would be for you to have that, be able to say that same thing. One thing that I will point out to you is that your personal information is 100% confidential. We cannot see your bank accounts. We can see the money that you paid off, the total amount, not who you paid it to or who you owe or what kind of debt you have. We can't see any of that. And we can, of course, see your name. But your personal information is 100% confidential as far as your bank account numbers and all that garbage. That the Ramsey organization has literally spent millions of dollars on security to make sure that is in an ironclad vault. and it's trustworthy. So far, knock on wood, 0 data breaches for the life of this program. Then we also have been talking about our creative planning, which is if you have accumulated some funds already, gone through the smart dollar, or you had them already, you want to talk to a financial advisor, the email on the screen is who you would reach out to. Brandon is a really good guy. He will put you in touch with a wealth manager in your geographic area. But we don't receive any fees from that. And we can't, because we're not licensed. And in fact, we can't really technically publicly advertise the name creative planning, but that's who it is, because you need to know who's going to be managing your money. The other thing that we're latched onto with our financial wellness program is healthcare insurance. And this is why, this data came out this week, actually, the average family's healthcare insurance costs now are nearly $24,000 a year this year, and that's up 7% from last year. It's the largest increase in 11 years. You can see the totals down here. This is for single coverage on the left. So typically you have a worker share and you have an employer share, and of course as 1099 independent contractors, it's all yours. But our costs are not anywhere near this. And we did a survey when we started talking about healthcare, and we came back to survey. Respondents said that 30% of our affiliates, these are benchmark affiliates, had no healthcare insurance. That's a time bomb waiting to happen, and that is a problem. So we felt like we morally had to help offer a plan to fix that. So we introduced United Real Estate Group Healthcare Solutions, free telemedicine, preventive care, mental health, low-cost prescriptions. These are all part of the program. They are health share plans, but they are most effective health share plans I've ever seen. They can walk you through. If you need a marketplace plan, they will help you sign up for a marketplace plan. They can get you on a PPO, HSA, if you just need major medical insurance, if you need supplemental, all of it is there, and it is really winning. I have had multiple testimonies from our affiliates saying, man, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. TJ Anderson, for example, is on a medication that his previous healthcare provider charged him $65 every time he went to get a refill. On this plan, it's $0. Personally, I was on a marketplace plan and have always been, because I had a child that was on there of childbearing. I had a daughter that was of childbearing age on my plan. She's moved off of that plan now, so it's just my wife and I. So I shifted over this plan, and not only did I lower my max out of pocket by $5,000 a year, I saved on premiums. I saved $3,600 a year. Did you hear what I said? $3,600 a year that I get to keep in my pocket. And then if I do have a problem, I'm going to have to pay $5,000 less than I did before. The one that's really cool is Leslie Tuberville's. She sent me this testimonial here, and we're actually going to use it on the UREG website. Her husband is type 1 juvenile diabetic and a little bit concerned about moving off a plan. He was kind of trapped in a job that he didn't really like. And basically, they're going to move to this plan, and their premiums are the same. And more importantly is that last paragraph. And the second thing about this plan, Kevin has freedom to get his real estate license, freedom to become a home inspector, freedom for anything he chooses. He's always been tied to a group health plan, and now he's set free. And we could say you're doing that for folks. That's a pretty good feeling. And it's a good testimony for how effective the plans are. Go to ureghealthcare.com, make an appointment, get a phone call, let them walk you through it. If it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you. No problem. Even if you're on a group plan somewhere else, go let them walk you through it and see. And frankly, if they find out that you are better served by another plan, they will tell you. They will even help you sign up for that other plan, okay? At least talk to them. That's my ask, because we are so concerned about the eroding effect of healthcare expenses in our society. As you saw me publish earlier, the number one reason for bankruptcy is healthcare emergency costs. You can address that easily by clicking that link right there. All right. That's our financial wellness program. Let's talk about some company numbers. Now we're going to shift over into the economics part of it, and starting with specific benchmark numbers for September. September 23 snapshot in 2022 as a comparison. You guys had closed $400 million in sales. Gross commissions 10 million on 808 transaction count, average sales price of 495 roughly, and the market at the same time had done 3,478 transactions. For those of you who've not seen me do a presentation like this before, understand that these are the gross sales are across all property types company-wide, okay? And again, remember, we are only in Middle Tennessee, Clarksville, and now Bowling Green, just now Bowling Green. So these are fairly geographically defined areas here. September 23, gross sales were down 17.5. Gross commissions down 14.9 year over year. Transaction count was down 13.1, and the average sales price was down 5%. What I like to key in on is, yeah, it's red numbers, but I like to key on these numbers here is how did you guys do compared to the market? And frankly, you kicked the market's butt. So kudos to you. You did a good job on that. We were only down 13.9. The market was down 19.3. It's a pretty big drop. So you guys are more productive for sure. The inventory slipped again, 1,344 units. That is a month-over-month decline of 3.5% and a year-over-year decline of 4.3%. I've not actually given you previously a year-over-year decline number, but that's what we're showing here. By the way, important point. The average sales price, that is our average sales price. It has nothing to do with prices in the marketplace. I want to be clear on that. It has nothing to do with marketplace numbers. This is just our average total sales divided by total of units. That's what that number is right there. Okay. Our affiliate count continued to grow. A year ago, we were at 1,503. This year, we're at 1,530, which is a 2% increase in our agent and our affiliate population. Year to date comparison, you can see there that we still beat the market. Year to date, we are down 18.6%, while the market is down year to date 19.4%. Again, the average sales price is down a little bit, but that is our average sales price, not the market. So we're still looking at $3 billion. So when you see all these other brokers that like to compare themselves to us and like to compare themselves to everybody and say, oh, these guys are all stupid, we're the great ones. By the way, we'll never do that. When you see the numbers, these are the real numbers. You will probably see a number that's probably somewhere in the 1.5 to 1.6 billion because they don't count all of our offices. They count all of theirs, but they don't count all of ours. So I want to make that important point to you that these numbers that I present to you are the only truthful numbers that I have seen floating around the marketplace. So please ignore those social media posts. They are garbage. And I'll tell you how deep we go into tracking numbers. I know that just blew your mind up if you've not seen this chart before, but this is a benchmark really tracking through 2017 through 23. And you can see over here the gross sales and then gross commissions and then transaction count. You can see that I have added in September's here. So let's do a picture tells 1,000 words game, right? Okay, so this is gross sales over the 2017 through 2023, and you can see how we are tracking relative to other years that we have now dropped below, just a hair below 2020 on our gross sales, and that's pretty typical for the rest of the market as well. You've heard me say it before when we talked about this stuff, that 2021 was a complete outlier. There was nothing real in 2021 that happened. 2022, the first half, was pretty much a complete outlier. We didn't get back to reality until the second half of 2022, and now we're getting into real reality. That's gross sales. Gross commissions kind of tracking the same way. You can see it again right here. The blue line, the 2023 is just below the orange or yellow line of 2020. Again, picture tells 1,000 words. Transaction count is where it's a little bit different. You can see here that the blue line is now, it crossed over the green line, which is what, 2018. And now we've come back up above 2018, and we are between 2018 and 2019 in transaction count productivity. So that's just a comparison. Again, we are tracking better than the marketplace is tracking. So even though those are numbers that might cause you to go, they are real numbers, number one, and then they are better than the rest of them numbers. So hold your head up. Look forward. So let's look at the larger market update. As we've talked about this in the past, we always talk about the lagging indicators and the leading indicators. So the lagging indicators are things that have already happened, and the leading indicators are those things that tell us what may happen in the future. Existing home sales is a lagging indicator. That's already happened for September. And you can see that September's existing home sales broke below $4 million. This is the first time since April of 2009 on a monthly basis that we've broken below 4 million annualized home sales. The last time we had a cumulative year below 4 million was 1995, and we hit 3.9. We touched it in 2010 with 4.1. Bottom line is, you've heard me say it, this is no surprise. It shouldn't be a shocker to anybody. We have a savagely unhealthy housing market with rates today above 8%. And the mortgage-backed securities investors are pricing in another Fed increase this year because our economy is supposedly blowing and going. But for September, the existing home sales were 2% down month over month and 15.4% down year over year. That sounds terrible. It sounds awful. It sounds hard. However, the percent change trend line is improving. So look over here. This is January of 23. It was down 36.9% year over year. And you can see how it's begun to trend upwards. In fact, I put a little red line in there and then circled September. September, August were roughly about the same. 2% is just a rounding error in most cases. Okay, so we are basically, it looks like, we'll talk more about this in just a second, developing a floor. So we're very happy to see that actually. Pending home sales kind of reinforces that. You'll see a lot of headlines that say a tremendous surge in pending home sales. Well, it was up 1.1% month over month. So any little bit we like to celebrate, and that's where you see those headlines about tremendous surges. However, year over year, it was down 11%. We like to point out positive things, and you can see here that the black line that I've put in here, how it is actually leveling out. And we like to see that because, again, it's the floor that seems to be developing on prices. Median home prices slipped slightly, but they're still up year over year, just slightly. You can see this column is September 22, this column is September 23, and you can kind of see where they level out when you put a line across there. We are up year over year. Gradual increase. So the really big question, and this is the question everybody's asking, particularly your buyers, is why are home prices not declining? They are, in fact, still increasing. Median home price, asking price, not sales price, but asking price was 5% up year over year. And that's interesting. But essentially, it's because both inventory and demand are low. That creates the floor. Okay, now inventory you see here on the chart is increasing 30,000 units over last month, but still it's an increase. So when you see low demand and low inventory, then eventually it gets to a point where it just doesn't move anymore. And the home prices are kind of stuck there. Activity is kind of stuck there. Inventory is kind of stuck there. And this is going to be the situation for a while. And the main reason for that is because of this increased mortgage rates. They briefly touched 8.3%. They are averaging last night at 4:30 when I checked 7.93%, all right, 7.96%. So they're bouncing around about that 8%. They're going to stay there unless the Fed does something new and different and hits us with a bunch more increases. If you listen to the language of what the Federal Reserve is saying, though, they are saying they're going to hold steady, but they're going to hold steady at higher for longer before they begin to ease the rates. Now, we can get in a whole conversation about mortgages are not based on the Fed's money. I get that. We've talked about that ad nauseum. They're based on 10-year treasuries, but they are all interconnected. And when one moves, the other moves. I don't care what anybody tries to tell you. They always move in tandem. And the Fed funds rate is now at about 5.75. So that is the highest it's been in quite some time. And as long as they keep it at that level, you will still see these numbers here. So as I've said before, this is the new normal. We had a big discussion on the closed group the other day about pricing on properties. And I put this chart out there because it helps explain why your sellers are having a hard time mentally adjusting to what the accurate price should be. And by the way, if you're using a comp that's more than 30 days old, it's already out of date. It's already out of date. Forget about 6 months ago. Forget about 5 months ago. We're talking about 30 days is about all you can use. And if you can't find the 30 days in that subdivision, begin to expand the geographic area. But that time limit has become critically important as these rates have increased so dramatically. And this is the point that I'm trying to make right here. Between January 22 in October 23, that's only an 18-month period, home buyers with a $3,000 budget have lost 33.8% of their purchasing power. The specifics I'm showing you here is that a $3,000 payment at 3% interest would have bought you a $618,000 house, and today it will only buy you a $409,000 house. So your sellers that think their house is worth 600 and they wonder why you haven't brought them a bunch of buyers don't understand this simple equation here is that their buyer pool has shrunk by 33.8%. If they want to capture more buyers, they've got to moderate on the prices. Eventually, that's got to happen. It can be gradual, it can be limited. As I have said before, when agents say, I can't find out, why is my house not selling? Why is my house not selling? The house doesn't sell for two reasons, price and condition. That's it. You can throw location in there a little bit, but mostly it's price and condition. You can improve, you can impact the condition argument with price, but you can never improve a house enough to get a ridiculously high number that no longer applies in the market. And that's exactly what I'm trying to show you here. Here's another chart you can show them. This is the number of people and mortgage mortgage interest rates have people locked into their homes. That further restricts the buyer pool. The 91.8% have a sub 6% mortgage, 82% have a sub 5%, 62% of all mortgages in existence have a sub 4% interest rate on them. And then finally, the lucky lottery winners over here at almost 23.5% have a sub 3%. They are not going to trade up to a house and pay more money if they've got a sub 3%, unless they have to. But you know, the fundamental truth is real estate continues. People will have a baby, they'll need another bedroom. They'll inherit grandma's house and need to get rid of it. They'll get a job relocation, need to sell one and buy one. This is how life works. The question is, at what level does that volume and activity exist? And are you in the game being considered? We'll talk more about that in just a second. Purchase Mortgage Index, this is the people applying for mortgages of all types, is an indicator of future home sales. Okay, it is now at a 29-year low. You have to go all the way back to 1994 to find a number this low on the purchase mortgage. It fell another 2% in September. And then housing affordability is now at a record low. The Housing Affordability Index just hit a fresh low at 90. That means that housing affordability is officially down 50% since 2021. Okay, and since the peak, this way up here, this peak, it has dropped 70%. Again, further reducing your buyer pool, putting more emphasis on condition, price, presentation, marketing. All those things become critically important in an environment like this, and you have to participate in that. You can no longer just take a snapshot and stick it on the MLS and expect to get paid. This is a little quote I like to use, or a quote I'm going to use from an economist that I like to quote, Elliot Eisenberg. He was the bow tie economist. He pushed this out on his blog the other day. It said, according to recent analysis, the average monthly new mortgage payment is currently 52% more than the average apartment rent. That's a switch. Okay. The last time this percentage was anywhere near where it is now was in 2006, Q2, the second quarter of 2006, not long before the housing bust, when it was 33.4%, a lot lower than we are today. The last time housing was less affordable than today was in the early 1980s, when interest rates were in the high teens. First house I ever bought, 1984. THDA money, first time home buyer money, 12.5%. But you know what? I still bought a house. Now, you can make the argument that prices weren't what they are now. I get it. Prices will moderate some, but because of supply, prices will not moderate a whole lot. The positive, though, is the leading economic indicator, which is kind of taking a step back and looking at the entire economy. It's dropped again, but comparatively speaking, it's still reasonable. So this blue line right here is the LEI, and you can see how it's dropped again. But you can also see that relative to the other recessionary areas, it's not even close. Okay, so that's a positive. And it's also creating a little floor right there. This is the GDP, real GDP that you see here, which tracks pretty much indicates along with the LEI. But you can also see this little tick up right here in the GDP. There's two things that is great, that is awesome. It keeps us hopefully out of recession, but it also kind of makes the Fed lean more kindly toward another tick up in interest rates. Positive, though, is that new listings ticked up in September, and that's a good thing. And then, as we talked about a floor earlier, one of the economists' concerns with higher rates has been whether new listings would take another leg lower, okay, which would not be a good thing for housing. Not only has that not happened, but we've had an orderly seasonal decline this year outside of some things around end of school and Labor Day. This indicates that the data is trying to form a historical bottom, and you can see where I pointed it out here relative to the 2 previous years. If we can flatten out some of these wild swings, and I'm talking about this as a wild swing, if we can flatten those out, when you see that data begin to flatten out, you know that that's a floor on developing an inventory, and that's a good thing. The other thing I'll show you here, and then we'll get on to other stuff, is this chart right here. Thank heaven you live in the South. 46% of all sales, single-family home sales that happen in America, 46% happen in the South. So if you can't make it here, you're probably not going to make it somewhere else. But that also means a lot of people are moving here. Okay, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Our home value indexes are showing stability. Okay, yeah, we had a couple of wild swings here, and then they kind of, pendulum reaction, and it went back, and now it's kind of going back toward the mean month over month as our home prices. They kind of do a little drop, little up, little drop, little up, and they'll keep going. I think that we'll see this trend continue here, and this is specific to Nashville region. So what does the future look like? I showed you this graph earlier. This is a combination of surveys from the Mortgage Bankers Association, Fannie Mae, and then also NAR, putting all their numbers into a pot, homogenizing them, and they coming up earlier. They were predicting in 2023 we'll finish up with 4.3 million. That 2024 will be 4.7 million existing family homes sold. And then NAR was the only one willing to go out on a limb at the time, and they said 5.1 for 2025. Just kind of, you've seen that chart before. It's just kind of a glimpse into the future. They've kind of revised that a little bit now with current economic data. This is that chart you just saw over here, and this is their latest measure. They are all, when you aggregate them all together, they're saying 2023 will be 4.2, 2024 will be 4.5, and 2025 will be 4.8. You've heard me say it probably before. We won't see 6 million units in this country again for at least 5 years. At least 5 years. That's just simple math. Just look at what the Fed is doing. As long as this Board of Governors stays in control of the Federal Reserve, and they are committed to concern about getting to 2% inflation, that's just how it's going to be. So you have to adjust your business accordingly, and that's why we're bringing this business planning to you today. So it's important to remember, I personally think this year we're going to end up about 4.1, maybe between 4.1 and 4. I don't think we're going to go below 4, but I could be surprised. December, always we kind of get an upper pop. So we'll see how it works out. But anyway, that's the reality. If you were to graph this, and you can see how the graph is almost flat here, it's really just kind of like next year is going to be like this year. That's the bottom line. We will keep you up to date, but pay attention to the benchmark dash for informational events. This is our last Fridays with Philip for 2023. I'm sure you're happy to hear that, because I know you're tired of hearing me talk and all that other good stuff, but we'll kick it off again in January, and then we'll have more information. Now, the caveat I'll say to that is that we have a lot of stuff going on with the lawsuits. Okay, so I may do some special arrangement in late November, early December, specifically for that. If I do, it will not be recorded. So if you see that, pay attention to this training and events calendar, pay attention to your email, pay attention to your social media posts on the closed group. If I decide to do that, if there's enough information to bring some info to you, it will be posted here. Actually, I may just do it in person, because I don't want any of it to be recorded and used and distributed. But we'll see. We'll see. I'll let you know about that. All right. Anybody know who Yogi Berra is? He was a heck of a baseball player. He played 19 years for the New York Mets, 18-time All-Star. He won 10 World Series championships. That means he had a ring for every finger. That's more than any other player in Major League Baseball history. And of course, he's in the Baseball Hall of Fame. And the quote that he's most famous for is, "It ain't over till it's over." And that was his philosophy. And that's I've adopted that philosophy. But the quote I'm highlighting here today is, without a plan, even the most brilliant business can get lost. You need to have goals, create milestones, and have a strategy in place to set yourself up for success. Now, I'm going to give you some information here in a minute, but the main comment I will make is there's a bunch of you here that were here last year, and I would almost bet money that you haven't done anything I told you to do last year, yet you're coming back this year. I'm glad you're here, but what I would like to ask is for a commitment that this year you will actually do something. And we're going to walk you through this and give you some tools to help you make it as easy as I possibly can. But you have to do the work. You have to do the work. And business planning is even more important now. It's more important than it's ever been, particularly because of the class action lawsuits that are closing in on our industry. We have the one in Kansas City that's going on right now. That is, defense is resting their case today. It will go to jury deliberations probably on Monday. There will be some changes to our industry following that decision. There are two more class action lawsuits behind this. The second one is even bigger than this one. The importance of this, I cannot state enough for you to pay attention. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, go back to Benchmark Dash and watch our Fridays with Philip from July of this year and then August of this year. Watch those videos thoroughly, replay them, and watch them again. Because what I tried to do is, number one, identify the problems and then identify solutions for the problems. But I can't make you do that. And you can't rely on hearsay because there is so much garbage being pushed out on social media and by the press about what is factually happening in these lawsuits that it's really hard to get a definitive answer. My information that I pushed out is well researched. Literally spent 40, 50, 60 hours studying this before I did those presentations. Each time I continue to study at least 3 hours a day on this topic because it is that important to our industry. It will change. Everybody, opinions are like noses. Everybody has one. Nobody cares about yours. So be careful of the opinions. Pay attention to the facts. Draw your own conclusions. That's my encouragement. So what about planning? Well, it begins with the truth, this truth. If you do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always got. Meaning, if you want something different, you must do something different. Now, I will add one caveat to that. Your iceberg has melted a little bit with the market changes. You saw the numbers earlier, how the whole market was down and how benchmark was down. So you have to increase your intensity on this if you're going to be successful in a changing environment. The last 5 years, when the 6 million homes a year being sold, it was like you could roll out of the rack at 11 o'clock. You could sell a house that day. You could get back in the rack by 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock if you wanted to, and still make $200,000 a year in this industry. There's not another industry you can do that in, by the way. So you're in the right place. But I'm telling you, it's tightened up. It's time to get real. It's time to become a serious business person, or you will not make it over the next 2 years. So please don't do that to yourself. Please don't do that to your family. We can only provide so many tools, but you're the one that has to do the work. You're the one that has to make the decision on what's important to you and your family as to what you're going to do and how far you're going to go with this. But that's the truth. If you're not happy with your current results, you've got to change your daily habits. And daily habits are where all of this lies. Success lies in the daily incremental habits that you see, that you adopt. Successful planning begins with knowledge of yourself, knowledge of your market, knowledge of your money, and knowledge of your desired income. This is key. You have to know the information. You can't wait for me to just feed you like a baby every Friday, because the next 2 months, I'm not going to be here, right? I'm not going to be on this program. I'll be in the office, but I won't be on this program. So you've got to seek the knowledge. You've got to make the decisions. You've got to do the soul searching to figure out what works for you and what doesn't work for you. So we're going to help you walk through this. Is why we're here today. But we've got a workbook that Kimberly's going to post in the chat now. And the workbook, you can grab it. It's a PDF. You can grab it and put it on your hard drive if you want to. We will have it posted as part of this slide deck once we get this published on Benchmark Dash. So don't fear if you don't have that. Don't go into a tailspin panic. But you do want to get that workbook because it's a lot more comprehensive than what I can cover here in the next 30 minutes. Okay. It begins with asking yourself, what do you want my real estate career to do for my life? Why is that important to me? Who else is going to benefit? How will they benefit specifically? And am I truly motivated enough to accomplish these goals? These are fundamental, soul-searching questions that you should ask about your career. And Kimberly's got that workbook link in the chat now, I believe. So you want to grab that and drag it over to your hard drive. But it all starts with having a goal. Okay. Keeping in mind that a goal is nothing but a plan. A goal without a plan is nothing but a wish. We wish for presents at Christmas. We wish for somebody to like us. We wish to go on vacation. But if you don't have a plan for any of those things, they're never going to happen. I don't know if any of you kids remember Zig Ziglar, but I followed him a lot in my early business career because he was such a strong motivational preacher, strong motivational speaker. He actually was a Baptist minister, but he was a strong motivational speaker. And he said, fundamentally, a goal properly set is already partially achieved. So setting goals is essential as step one. And we start with the why. All goals start with why. What is your motivation? And this is actually on page 4 of the workbook, how to develop your goals. You want to make sure that when you develop them, when you spend sufficient time working on them, that they are SMART goals, S-M-A-R-T. And we're talking about inspiration versus desperation here. The goals got to motivate. You make sure they're important enough to you and there's value to you in achieving them. So motivation is a psychological feature that compels you to act toward a desired goal and elicits, controls, and sustains your behavior. And that's an important part of a goal. You can have one and say, oh, well, I want to do X, Y, or Z. But if you're not motivated, if it not give you the motivation enough to sustain that behavior that it takes to reach that goal, then it won't happen. It just won't happen. They are the fire in your belly. That's what a goal is. Okay. Now, specific, measurable, achievable, that's what SMART stands for, and time bound. So we'll walk through SMART here in just a second. There's a very detailed explanation of SMART in the workbook on page 7. Specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timed or time bound, meaning you have a specific deadline for them. So let's give you an example of specific. Well, it has to be clear, well-defined, shows you the way, just crystal clear. For example, I want 3 new listings this month. Okay. That is a very specific and measurable goal because you have 3 new listings, which is specific, and this month as the time-bound portion of it. Is that attainable? Okay. Meaning, is it possible? Challenging? Yes, you want it to be, but you also want it to be realistic. You need balance. Some things are easy. You want some things that are easy to achieve so you can have a celebration, and you want some harder things to make it a reach for you. We call those BHAGs, or big, hairy, audacious goals. You probably heard me talk about that in the past as well. And the relevant, they have to be answering your why. Okay. Keep your eye on the prize. And in time bound or timed, you've got to have deadlines. You got to have celebrations along the way. You got to measure the success, and you've got to have accountability. Bottom line is your dreams start with your goals. Okay. This is your visualization part. What do I visualize? How do I want my life to look like? And that starts with your personal budget. Okay. So in this case, I recommend scheduling with your family, significant other, partner, whatever that looks like for you. Schedule a planning weekend. Get away from the house. Include your family. Share your whys. Get their buy-in on what you have contemplating. And yeah, I'm talking about stuff here where you're just going to have to sit in a room, close the door, and either pray or talk to your mirror or talk to yourself or whatever works for you. You've got to do this work yourself. And there's nobody else in the room until you figure out what your why is and how it benefits those around you. So you want to include your spouse, your significant other, your kids. You may discover that they have different whys, and you want to share yours, and then you homogenize that. But the bottom line is that your family, your support mechanism, your accountability network must buy in to what this is. Step 3 is you must know where you've been to figure out where you're going. Your annual budget is going to be guided by tracking your previous expenses and income. Okay. We're going to talk more about that in just a minute. But there is, hopefully you're tracking your expenses and your income. There's a big section on this, on pages 14 through 15 in the workbook that talks about that. If you don't know what you're spending and you don't know what you're making, you're not going to be very successful at planning. So that's step 1. If you need to take 2 steps back from where we are already in this conversation, then you need to go do that. It amazes me the number of affiliates we have that call here in October wanting their 1099. It's amazing the number of affiliates that call here wanting to know how much they've sold this year. That to me makes no sense. It just makes no sense. You should be tracking this stuff, and we'll talk more about tracking in just a second. But you start from where you are, whether you're a new licensed or whether you're experienced professional. That data that you have about yourself, about your production in 23, has that been enough in what you plan in 2024? That's your annual lifestyle number. This will help you understand how many listings you'll need and how many buyers you need based on your market and your performance and their average sales price to hit those goals. So that's basically fundamental research that we're talking about there. But let me give you some essential math so you can start at the end and work back to where you want to work back to today, so you can arrive at that end point that you desire. Stephen Covey called it beginning with the end in mind. And it's really just basic math that will help you get there. So let's say, for example, that you have decided in your thought process and your whys and your analysis and your self-introspective that you want to earn $125,000. That equates to $62.50 per hour based on 2,000 work hours per year. Your market is selling, or you are selling, an average sales price of $425,000, which is probably a little low for today's market. Your average commission rate is 2.56. This is illustrative purposes only, and this is being recorded, so I want to be crystal clear on this, that is strictly for illustration only. Your commission rate is going to be negotiated between you and your client, okay? That yields, suppose you did have 2.5%, that yields an average commission of $10,880 on a $425,000 house, okay? Thank goodness you work for Benchmark, because you got a fairly high net off of that of $10,386 plus or minus per transaction. So that's the number you have to work with from each transaction. So the number of closings you'll need to hit the target then is 11 per year, or an average of 1 per month, roughly. All right, you see how I did that? All I did was took 125, divided it by 10,386. Pretty simple math. And here's the $64,000 question. Actually, it's the okay. So are your daily activities enabling 1 closing per month? Your daily activities, because it all boils down to your daily activities. Let me say that again. Your daily activities, and then break it down 1 step further. Are your hourly activities generating $62.50 per hour in revenue? If they are not, you've got a habit problem. You need to change your habits. Your habits govern your actions govern your destination. And this is a simple math where I started at the beginning up here of what I wanted to achieve. I figured out how to get there. And then I said, okay, what are my daily activities and what are my hourly activities it's going to take to help me achieve that goal right there? You've heard me say it before, and I'll say it again here, that to achieve that, you must understand that your database is your pot of gold. You cannot achieve the results I just showed you unless you understand that your database is your pot of gold. And here's some math on your database, okay? Is it big enough? That should be a question. You say, okay, well, I've got all these people that I know and all these people I've done business with, but do you have them in your database? Are you using our CRM on Bullseye or on LionDesk to farm that database? Okay. Are you staying in touch with them? Everyone in your database needs to be receiving a loving touch from you every month. I'm here. I'm here. I'm here. I'm here. Social media is great to support that, but direct outreach is the only way you're going to achieve it. You can't just put a post on Facebook and call it done. You got to pick up the phone. How's your kid doing in college? How's your grandmother's health? These are personal, loving touches that you must engage with every one of your clients every month. If you're not doing that, you won't have the revenue coming in you need. And here's evidence of it. So let's take some simple math again, that on average, people move every 5 to 7 years. So with a database of 200 people, that's 28 to 40 people are going to move. So of that 200, 28 to 40 are going to move. Okay, that'll give you 4 to 6 transactions per year. With a database of 400, that's between 57 and 80 people will move each year, and that will give you a transaction count of 8 to 11 each year. Okay, so what was our target in the other explanation? It was 11, wasn't it? So here's the questions for you, or something to really understand. It's not a question, it's just really a statement. The number of closings you have each year is directly connected to your database. People do business with you because they know you, love you, and trust you, not because they saw your face on a park bench. You can use social media to load your database. You can use advertising to load your database. You can use lead purchase to load your database, assuming you don't have one already. All those things are important elements to help you build your database. But once you have your database, you must hold on to these people with iron talons until they buy or they die. That's how this business works, and you must do that. And it takes discipline and time management to do that. This is key. These are key vehicles for you. Discipline and time management. I will do this. I will do this. I will do this above all else. Here's some stats on it to back up what I'm saying. All right. And these come from the National Sales Executive Association. 2% of sales are made on the first contact. 2%. 3% are made on the second contact. 5% are made on the third contact. 10% are made on the fourth contact. But 80% of sales are made on the 5th to 12th contact. Persistence, discipline, time management. These are keys to make this happen. Here's the downside of that. 48% of salespeople never follow up with a prospect. And I guarantee you there's people on this call that are like that. 25% make a second contact and stop. 12% make 3 contacts and stop. And only 10% of salespeople make more than 3 contacts. Now imagine you contacting your database every month, how you're going to rise above the crowd in that statistical environment. So it's like when I got in this real estate business, I had already spent 19 years in the commercial printing business before I got in real estate. And I came in this business and started a benchmark, and I said, I looked around at all the other business models these other brokers were doing, and I said, I am not the sharpest knife in the drawer, but the way y'all are doing business makes no sense to me at all. I'm going to go this way. That's what I'm talking about here. You can differentiate your career simply enough just by picking up the phone. It's that easy. I can't emphasize that enough, but it does require commitment. It requires discipline, and it requires persistence. Time management is key, and this is a big deal here. I can't stress this enough. Your skin color, your economic condition, where you were raised, whether you had bad parents or good parents, or bad kids or good kids, none of that really matters in equality. Because the only place where we're all equal is in the 24 hours a day that we're given. Okay, you're going to work 8 roughly at a job. You're going to sleep 8 roughly. I know some of you only sleep 4 or 5 like me, but that's okay. Point is, there's another 8 hours in there, and what you do with that free time is the key to your progress along the continuum of hitting your goals. Time equals money. Time is money. Okay, don't waste it. Don't squander it, because we all only have a certain amount in our cup, and if we don't use it properly, we're not going to be able to take advantage of it. And then tracking. I said earlier that we were going to get into tracking, and boy, we're going to get into tracking. You have to understand that you must faithfully track your sales numbers and project your commission amounts. Tracking your cash flow is survival. If you're using the Smart Dollar app, you will learn that pretty darn quick. You must track your income and find out where your money's coming from and find out where your money's going. But if you don't know what money's coming in, how are you going to be able to utilize that system? You got to track it. Future performance is past performance is no guarantee of future performance, but you can see patterns. And people who are successful in managing their money usually are going to be successful in managing their money. But the point is, it's really not that hard. You just have to do it, and you have to do it on a daily basis. What you see on the screen now is a spreadsheet that I used, and I have actually created a blank one of these for you that Kimberly's going to put in the chat now that you can download. Again, it will be attached to the documents once we post this on the dash, so you don't have to really worry about it. But if you see what I'm doing up here, I am tracking my income. And when I would get a contract pending, I would enter the date, e-address, the sales price, the commission amount, the gross to the broker, the net commission amount, and then I was tracking that commission per month, and then running totals that you see down here. And you can see that in that year, I sold $20 million worth of real estate, made the broker made $323,000, and I netted $260,000. By the way, that's why I started Benchmark Realty, because that burned me up that I had spent $65,000, had given my broker $65,000. The broker was driving a new Jaguar. The broker had just remodeled their office. The broker was living in a really fine home. And I never even saw the broker except to get paid. And most of the times, the office manager was forcing the broker's signature on my checks just to get me paid. Didn't use their office space, didn't use their conference rooms, didn't use anything. Didn't even use their copiers, but maybe to make a copy of the check. That's a side note. Point is, you must track this daily to make sure you're doing things the right way. And some of you are going to ask, well, why is your commission percentage so low? Well, I had a partner. This was my portion. Okay. Simple enough. Once you have it, you got to manage it. And you've probably seen me talk about this before, right? But you need 3 buckets. You need 3 bank accounts. You need a tax account for your quarterly tax payments. You need a real estate operating account. You need a household checking account. And I talk about it as 3 buckets. So literally when a commission check arrives, you know exactly what you're going to do with it. First thing you're going to do is take 30% of it and put it in your tax account. Let me tell you, really bad things happen when you don't pay your taxes. You cannot escape the IRS. You cannot hide from the IRS. You cannot run from the IRS. So you have to put money in that bucket. And then when your quarterly tax payments are due, you clean that account out and you send all of it to the IRS on either April 15th, June 15th, September 15th, or January 15th. You're going to be over. You may be a little under, but you paid your taxes. And they will come after you. They will come after your family. They will come after your house. They will come after your kids. They will come after your parents. They will come after everything you have ever touched to try to get their money. So don't screw with them. Pay your taxes. 70% of it's going to go into what I call a real estate operating account. And okay, well, obviously math says that's 100%. Well, what do you do from there? You pay yourself a weekly salary into your household account. Most people in this career, this is a second career for them. So you were used to a regular paycheck at your job. This puts your mindset in that same mode of receiving regular income, even though it's coming from your real estate operating account. You're going to build up an excess in there, hopefully, if you're selling a lot of houses. So you'll want to have a 4th bucket that will be savings, right? In the meantime, you would take your savings, a portion of your savings from here, but your excess, when you have massive hits, your excess would go in directly into a money market account or some sort of investment like that. This is simplistic. It's easy to follow. It's repeatable, and it has a consistent outcome. That's why I recommend it, and I keep recommending it to be that simple. But again, going back to this right here, pay your taxes. Pay your taxes on time, and you won't have to worry about it. You're going to need an accountability partner, whether that accountability partner is within your family or within whoever's on this call. You're going to need somebody that you share openly with. We provide the tools, but you choose the areas you want to enhance. And by the way, you have 100% of your commissions to be able to invest back in yourself. But identifying that total unproductive time in a week will shock you. It will blow your mind how much time we all fritter away. I do it. I struggle with it every day. So that's why you need an accountability partner. It's not about how bad you want it. It's about how hard you're willing to work for it. And that's an important key to remember there. An accountability partner will help you walk through this together. I've even seen small groups set themselves up to be accountability partner groups, much like AA or any of the other accountability groups. Critically important to have somebody that you're talking to, working with, who knows who you are, who knows how you do business, and can encourage you and help you. And you'll also want to seek inspiration. I'm a big reader, okay? And as Ben Franklin said, an investment in knowledge always pays the best interest. So page 28 of the workbook, we've got some good, a good book list. I am a huge reader. I probably read 150 books a year. Some of those on Audible, some of them on actual hard copies, depending on the difficulties. And in some cases, I'll get the Audible book and it'll be so good, I'll buy the hard copy and use a highlighter on it. And then I keep it and I refer back to it. Drives my wife nuts that I've got so many books in the house, but it is what it is. There are 10 benefits to that, right? It stimulates you mentally. It keeps you thinking. You're not sitting there watching the stupid TV, getting all worried about what's happening in Ukraine and Israel. You're learning, you're improving yourself, you're reducing the stress, you're increasing your knowledge, you're expanding your vocabulary. I know you can't really tell it from me, but my vocabulary has expanded since I have been such a voracious reader over the years. It improves your memory, particularly for people my age. And I know a lot of you out there are my age. Keep your mind active. It gives you stronger analytical skills, better writing skills. You just develop a sense of tranquility. And oh, by the way, it's free entertainment because you can pick up that same book again and read it again. It makes for a wonderful habit that everyone should engage in. And as I said, on page 20 of the workbook, there's a list of recommended reading on there if you want to pick up on some that I have picked up on. And people walk in my house and my office is the first room you see on the right. And I've got one whole wall lined with books and I've got another bookcase over here. And chances are I've got a bunch stacked up on the desk. My wife just kind of closes the door so people don't have to see it when they come in the house. But that is what I do and that is what I love. So let's recap on all this. Peter Drucker, one of the greatest management gurus in the history of the world, said, unless commitment is made, there are only promises and hopes, but no plans. So I'm going to challenge you today and ask you, are you just going to have more promises and hopes, or are you going to have a plan? It's 100% up to you. I can't do it for you. Nobody can do it for you. Your accountability partner can help encourage you along the way, but if you're not dedicated to it, it's still not going to happen. But what we did today, we talked about business planning, what it is, why it's useful, why it's important, why it's even more important now than before. Defined your goals, dared to dream, answered the why, understand that goals need to be SMART, S-M-A-R-T. Understand we need to set aside time to plan, look at what we need, assess our needs, define the value of our time, and set an annual income goal, and then examine ways to track our progress. Tracking your progress is critical in all this because it gives you the encouragement to continue forward. And you don't get discouraged by all the garbage that's going on in the world. You keep your eye on the prize and keep moving forward. But as I keep saying, it's your business plan. You can dream it, you can wish it all you want to, but if you don't do it, it's not going to happen. So you've got to get the doing or you can't expect results. I've given you an outline. I've given you the workbook. I've given you a glimpse of positive outcomes. But if you don't actually do any of this stuff, then a year from now, you'll be in exactly the same spot you're in or worse because of the economy and have zero progress and a great deal of frustration. So just do the work. And we're going to have continued learning opportunities and information opportunities as we go along. So keep an eye on the dash. We will keep you updated on what's going on in the world. And Kimberly's dropped in here. So say us a few words and close us out, Kimberly.
Yes, thank you everybody for tuning in today. I did attach the workbook and the Excel spreadsheet again, as Philip said a couple times, we will have that posted on the dash for you. When he was talking about get an accountability partner, I just want to mention that we just started the fourth round of 100 Days to Greatness. You have time to still jump in to get on board with that. It is a small group, so we do hold you accountable. The first 30 minutes, we talk about what you accomplished from last week, why you didn't. It's a great time to get involved in that. And I have a bigger discount than we typically have. So I think the price now is only like $299, which is a steal because it's close to $500 regularly. But you have to sign up within the next couple weeks. So just follow up with me. We got a lot of great training that's going to be coming up in 2024. One of the big topics is AI. I've been talking with a couple people that do a lot of work using AI for marketing. It's not just for doing listing descriptions. So I'm getting some things set up. I've got a class in December coming up. So keep watching on the calendar, sign up, register for the classes, and thank you so much for being here.
Well, thanks, Kimberly. And I just had looking at the chat here, and Rick Haas, our president of United, is actually on watching us. So, okay, you saw our performance today. So, Rick, if you're still on, I think I can unmute you. Can I unmute Rick? This is set up as a webinar, so let me see what I can figure out here. Okay, so all right, Rick, you are unmuted if you want to say a few words.
Philip, yeah, thank you for opening the channel so that I can get a word in here. And I know this is unscripted and unplanned, but I just feel the need. I've been at this business 3 decades plus. And, you know, some of the people, I was part of the Drucker Foundation for almost 20 years before Mr. Peter Drucker passed away. Zig Ziglar, I've been on stage with. I want to tell you something, and this is to everyone who's on this call right now. As president of United Real Estate, I am continuously impressed with the quality of information that you all have available to you through Philip's wisdom and his teachings. I had no planned presentation or script this morning, but this is one of those rare moments where I was able to listen from start to finish. And what just got presented to you is as good as it gets from the business planning on back to the local and regional and state information that you provided, Philip. You've actually, the theme or the river that ran through your comments is, let's have a business discipline, let's have a life discipline, and in the process, we'll make our lives better. Philip, I can't tell you how proud I am to be affiliated with you and with Benchmark. And for all of our agents and employees listening, understand that from the national perspective, over 3 decades, this kind of meeting is as good as it gets in the real estate business today. So you're in rare air with this kind of coaching and teaching and development. And I sure hope you do what Philip asked you to do, which is to make a commitment to implement whatever parts of this program you can, because it is truly spectacular in its guidance and direction for success. And Philip, I know how much you love me doing that kind of stuff, but it's kind of like, too bad, man. I gotta say what's there, and you're just killing it. Thank you for being a part of our organization.
Well, man, I certainly didn't expect that. I probably would not have unmuted you if I'd known you were going to say all that stuff. You're making me all
I know.
here, you know.
I know.
But I really
I'm not
appreciate
kidding.
it.
You know, it isn't a man crush. It's 100% trying to reinforce the notion that what you just put out and what you always put out. This program was exceptional in its guidance and giving our agents and employees the ability to navigate the market we're in and the markets that are coming. So thank you again.
Very, very generous of you, and I appreciate it very much. Even though, and I'll send you a check later for it. Okay. I'm kidding. I promise I did not pay him to say that. Okay. With all that said, I'm going to stop our share and I'm going to call this thing done, and appreciate everybody for being here today. And if there's anything that I can do to help any of you, you got my email address. You saw it on the screen there, and I'm always glad to do that. So
Real
with that
quick,
said, yep.
Real quick, to sign up for the 100 Days of Greatness, you have to email me because I have a link that comes directly through me. So send it to Kimberly at benchmarkrealtytn.com. I'll send you a link and sign up. And every Tuesday, 9 a.m. via Zoom. It's not in person. So you can stay in your jammies, grab your coffee.
There you go. There you go. But you have to have the discipline to do it, or even that's not going to get you there. Okay. All right, guys, you have a great weekend. I appreciate every one of you so much. And if I can ever help you, please let me know. We will have this posted on the Dash along with all the documents here shortly. All right. Have a great weekend.